The hotel ballroom glowed with soft light and laughter. My name was printed in gold across the banner, but no one said it. Not once. When my fiancé raised his glass to thank everyone for celebrating our love, my parents were at the bar laughing with my sister, taking photos and forgetting I existed. That was the night I decided to disappear, not out of spite, but because invisibility had finally become unbearable. My name is Aria, and for 28 years I lived in a family where I was present but never seen. I thought my engagement would change that. I thought finally one day would belong to me. I was wrong. The moment I realized no one was looking at me on what should have been my night, something inside me shifted. Not broke, shifted, like a lock finally turning after years of rust. If you're watching this video, please like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me in the comments where you're watching my story from. I want to know how far it has traveled. I want to know your opinion because every story is like a candle that can light the path for someone else. I grew up learning that silence was easier than asking to be seen. My sister Natalie's dance recitals filled photo albums stacked on shelves in the living room. My science fair trophy, first place in biochemistry, got lost behind a pile of mail on the kitchen counter. When I spoke up, my mother Patricia smiled tightly and said, "Don't be so sensitive, sweetheart." Dad would nod without looking up from his phone, already scrolling to something more important. Birthdays blurred into afterthoughts. Graduations turned into missed calls with apologetic texts hours later. Traffic was terrible, they'd say. We'll celebrate this weekend. Weekend never came. I learned early that in our family attention wasn't shared, it was inherited. Natalie inherited it all. I inherited the art of making myself smaller, quieter, less demanding. I became so good at it that eventually I disappeared even when I was standing right there. So when my fiancé Brandon proposed under string lights at our favorite rooftop restaurant, I thought maybe this would be different. Finally, I'd have a day that belonged to me. I spent weeks planning the engagement dinner. I researched venues, compared menus, read reviews until my eyes burned. I picked the restaurant, an elegant place with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I sent the invitations myself, printed on cream cardstock with our names embossed in silver. I even paid the $1,500 deposit from my own account. Brandon's family RSVP'd immediately with excitement. My family took 3 weeks and a reminder text. "Of course we'll be there," Patricia wrote back. "Wouldn't miss it for the world." I wanted to believe her, I really did, but belief and experience don't always align. Still, I let myself hope, just this once. They arrived an hour late. The reservation was for 7. By 8, Brandon's parents kept glancing at the door, smiling awkwardly, asking if we should order appetizers. I kept checking my phone, no text, no call. Then they walked in. Patricia wore a tight smile and designer heels that clicked against the marble floor. My father Kenneth followed, already on his phone. And Natalie, my younger sister, walked in wearing white. A flowing white dress with delicate lace sleeves, the kind you wear to your own engagement party, not someone else's. She looked radiant. Everyone turned to look. Patricia immediately rushed to her side, adjusting her hair, snapping photos with her phone. "You look stunning, sweetheart," she cooed. Kenneth finally looked up from his screen long enough to nod approvingly. No one said hello to me. No one apologized for being late. They sat down like they'd arrived exactly on time. When Brandon stood to make his toast, I felt my chest tighten. He held his champagne glass high, his voice warm and genuine. "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight to celebrate the start of our journey together," he said. "I can't wait to be part of this family." They clapped. Patricia beamed. Kenneth raised his glass. Natalie smiled like she was the bride, but no one looked at me, not once during the entire speech. Brandon squeezed my hand under the table, sensing something was wrong. His parents leaned over, whispering congratulations meant only for me, but my family, the people who raised me, were focused entirely on each other. Patricia handed Natalie her bouquet, a bouquet, at my engagement party. "You'll be next," she said loudly enough for the table to hear. Natalie giggled. Kenneth chuckled, and I sat there invisible again, wondering why I ever thought tonight would be different. After the party ended, after Brandon's family hugged me warmly and my family left early without saying goodbye, I sat on the hotel balcony still in my engagement dress. The fabric felt heavy now, suffocating. I watched the city lights fade into the distance, the sound of traffic below louder than the sound of my family's absence. I thought about every milestone I'd spent waiting for them to show up. My high school graduation, where they arrived during the final speech. My college acceptance to Johns Hopkins, where Patricia said, "That's nice, honey," and went back to helping Natalie pick prom dresses. My first promotion at the hospital, where I called to share the news and Kenneth said, "Can I call you back? I'm watching the game." every single moment I had waited, and they had never come. Then I opened my laptop, found the link to the county's name change petition, and started typing. For the first time in my life, the sound of my own typing felt powerful. Each keystroke was deliberate, purposeful. I wasn't acting out of anger, I was acting out of clarity. Over the next few weeks, I became methodical. I created a folder on my desktop called Transition. Inside it, I placed every document that tied me to my old life: birth certificate, social security card, passport, driver's license, bank statements, lease agreements, employment records, insurance documents. I started with the name change petition. The form asked for my current legal name and my desired new name. Current, Aria Hartwell. Desired, Clara Monroe. Clara because it meant clear, bright, unburdened. Monroe because it belonged to no one but me. I printed the form, signed it in blue ink, and scheduled a court date. The clerk on the phone sounded bored. To her, this was routine. To me, it was revolution. I moved my savings to a new account at a different bank. 7 years of careful deposits, bonuses, emergency funds, all transferred into an account with only my new name attached. I changed my email address from Aria Hartwell to Clara Monroe official. I updated my workplace records, sitting down with HR to explain the change. They asked if I was married. I said no. They asked if I was in witness protection. I almost laughed. Just starting over, I said. They nodded and processed the paperwork without judgment. I cancelled my phone plan, the one my father had added me to years ago. I bought a new phone, new number, new service provider. I refunded the engagement party deposit. $1,500 returned to my account, and then I sent Brandon one message. Short, final, clear. You deserve a family that shows up. I'm sorry, but I can't be part of yours while I'm still tied to mine. Each form I filled out felt like reclaiming oxygen. Each signature loosened the weight of their indifference. It wasn't revenge, it was precision. It was order after years of chaos. I wasn't running away. I was walking towards something better. I updated my address with the post office. I changed my emergency contacts at work. I removed my parents from my medical proxy forms. I transferred my prescriptions to a pharmacy across town. I untagged myself from every family photo on social media. Then I deactivated my accounts entirely. No announcement, no explanation, just gone. Brandon called twice, I didn't answer. His mother sent a kind email asking if I was okay. I replied briefly, "I'm figuring things out, thank you for always being kind." She wrote back immediately, "Our door is always open." I believed her, but I couldn't walk through it, not yet, not while I was still unraveling the old version of myself. When the court date arrived, I wore a navy dress and carried a folder with every required document. The courthouse smelled like cleaning solution and old wood. I sat in a waiting area with others seeking name changes: a young trans man, a woman escaping an abusive marriage, a man reconnecting with his heritage. We didn't speak, but we understood. When my name was called, I stood. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes and silver hair, reviewed my petition. "Reason for name change?" she asked. "Personal reinvention," I said. She looked up, studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Approved." The clerk stamped the petition. The sound echoed like closure. My new name, Clara Monroe, inked in black letters across a clean white page. I walked out of that courthouse lighter than I'd been in years. The air felt different, the sunlight sharper. I was no longer Aria Hartwell, the invisible daughter. I was Clara Monroe, and I belonged to no one but myself. A month later, HR forwarded me a voicemail from an unknown number. I almost deleted it. Then I heard my mother's voice. "We're trying to reach Clara," Patricia said, uncertainty thick in her tone. "We think she used to be our daughter. If this is you, please call us back. We don't understand what's happening." The system marked it as unverified contact. I saved it, not to listen again but as proof that I existed enough for them to notice when I was gone. Out of curiosity, I turned on my old phone, the one I'd kept in a drawer, powered off for weeks. 67 missed calls, dozens of texts. "You're being dramatic. Come home. You owe us an explanation. Natalie is upset. Your father wants to talk. This is ridiculous." I scrolled through them all, feeling nothing. No guilt, no anger, just clarity. I owed them nothing. The silence they gave me, I simply returned. I moved to a small apartment on the other side of the city. 1 bedroom, large windows, a balcony overlooking a park. The rent was higher than my old place, but it was mine, completely mine. No one knew the address, no one had a key. The first morning I woke up there, I made coffee in the quiet, no phone buzzing, no guilt weighing on my chest, just steam rising from the cup, sunlight pouring through the window, and the sound of birds outside. I bought new furniture. A couch I picked myself. A bed frame I assembled alone. Art for the walls that reflected my taste, not my mother's. I planted herbs on the balcony. Basil, mint, rosemary. Things that grew without needing constant validation. The mail arrived with my new name printed clearly on every envelope. Clara Monroe, bills, catalogues, junk mail, all of it mine. For the first time, silence didn't mean absence. It meant ownership. It meant peace. Patricia found my work email. I don't know how, but she did. We need to talk, the subject line read. The body was longer, rambling, defensive. You've always been so sensitive. We didn't realize you felt this way. Natalie misses you. Your father is hurt. This is tearing the family apart. I read it twice, then I archived it. Kenneth tried calling my office line. My assistant took a message. Your father called. He says it's urgent. I told her if he called again to say I was unavailable. She nodded without question. Natalie sent a letter to my old apartment. My former neighbor forwarded it. The envelope had a return address I recognized. Inside, a handwritten note on floral stationery. I don't understand why you're doing this. I love you. Please come home. I held it for a long time, not because I was considering it, but because it was evidence of how little they had ever known me. I hired a lawyer, not because I planned to sue them, but because I needed protection. Her name was Jordan Ellis, and she specialized in family law and restraining orders. I explained the situation, the name change, the constant contact, the refusal to accept my decision. Do you feel unsafe? She asked. No, I said. I feel suffocated. She nodded. We can send a cease and desist letter. It won't stop them legally from trying to contact you, but it establishes a formal boundary. If they escalate, we can pursue further action. I agreed. The letter was professional, cold, clear. It outlined my desire for no contact. It referenced my legal name change. It stated that further attempts to contact me would be considered harassment. Jordan sent it certified mail. Patricia signed for it 3 days later. For 2 weeks my phone stayed silent, my email stayed clear, and I breathed easier than I had in months. Boundaries, I learned, weren't cruel. They were survival. 6 months later I received a call from my grandmother's assisted living facility. Nana Grace, the only person in my family who had ever remembered my birthdays, who sent cards with $5 bills inside, who called just to ask how I was, really. Your grandmother passed peacefully in her sleep, the nurse said gently. The family is planning a memorial. I thought you'd want to know. My chest tightened. Thank you, I said. I debated not going. The thought of seeing them again made my hands shake. But this wasn't about them. This was about Nana Grace, the woman who had seen me when no one else did. So I went. I drove back to my hometown for the first time since changing my name. The chapel was small, filled with white lilies and soft music. I arrived early, sat in the back row and waited. When my family arrived, Patricia saw me first. She froze in the aisle, her face cycling through shock, relief, anger. Kenneth followed her gaze, his expression hardening. Natalie looked confused, like she didn't recognize me. I stayed seated. Patricia walked over slowly, cautiously, as if approaching something fragile. You came, she whispered. For Nana, I said, not for you. Her eyes filled with tears. You changed your name. Yes, I said, because the old one didn't belong to anyone. She tried to smile, but it cracked at the edges. We made mistakes. You made choices, I replied. Her hand reached for mine. I pulled back. I loved you, she said, voice breaking. You loved the idea of me, I said. The version that stayed quiet, that didn't ask for anything, that disappeared when Natalie needed attention. You loved someone who doesn't exist anymore. Kenneth stepped forward. This is a funeral, show some respect. I am, I said. That's why I'm here. The service was beautiful. People shared stories about Nana Grace, her kindness, her humor, her love for crossword puzzles and terrible romance novels. When it was my turn to speak, I stood. My voice was steady. Nana Grace was the only person who made me feel seen, I said. She remembered my favorite color. She asked about my job not because she had to, but because she cared. She taught me that love isn't supposed to hurt. That family isn't supposed to make you feel invisible. I'll carry that lesson for the rest of my life. I sat down. The room was silent. Patricia was crying. Kenneth stared straight ahead. Natalie looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. After the service, I went to Nana's grave alone. I placed a single white rose on the fresh earth. Thank you, I whispered, for showing me what I deserved. Then I walked back to my car and drove away. I didn't look back. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. Not from Patricia or Kenneth or Natalie, from Brandon. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity won. Inside was a single page, handwritten. Clara, it began. I don't know if that's what you want to be called now, but it's the name I was given. I want you to know I don't blame you. I should have seen what was happening. I should have said something at the party. I should have protected you. You deserved better from me, and you definitely deserved better from them. I hope wherever you are, you're happy. I hope you found the peace you were looking for. You were always too good for us. Take care of yourself. Brandon. I folded the letter carefully and placed it in a box with other things I wanted to remember, not because I wanted him back, but because his words mattered, because acknowledgement, even late, still held weight. I started seeing a therapist named Dr. Marin Wells. I'd resisted for years, telling myself I didn't need help, that I could handle everything alone, but carrying silence for so long had left marks. Tell me about your family, she said in our first session. I told her everything. The forgotten birthdays, the missed graduations, the engagement party where I wore gold letters on a banner and still disappeared. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned forward. You weren't invisible, she said. They chose not to see you, that's different, and it's not your fault. Those words cracked something open. I cried for the first time in months, not sad tears, relieved ones. Over the following weeks we worked through layers of guilt, shame, and misplaced responsibility. I learned that leaving wasn't abandonment, that boundaries weren't punishment, that I didn't owe anyone access to me just because we shared blood. I reconnected with people I'd lost touch with. My college roommate Simon, who I'd drifted from because family obligations always came first. My co-worker Jade, who had invited me to dinners I always declined. My neighbor Elliot, who knocked on my door one Saturday with homemade cookies and an invitation to a book club. Slowly, carefully, I built a new kind of family, one based on choice, on mutual respect, on showing up. Simon and I met for coffee every Sunday. Jade and I started a tradition of Friday movie nights. Elliot introduced me to his book club, a group of 6 people who read everything from classics to thrillers and debated over wine. These people didn't know the old me, they only knew Clara, and Clara was someone who laughed more, who spoke up, who didn't apologize for existing. For the first time I understood what it felt like to be chosen, not out of obligation, but because people genuinely wanted me there. At work I thrived. Without the constant weight of family obligations, I focused entirely on my career. I took on more responsibilities, I led projects, I mentored junior staff. 6 months after my name change, my supervisor called me into her office. We're promoting you to senior project manager, she said. You've earned it. I stared at her, stunned. Really? She smiled. Really, you've been exceptional, Clara, congratulations. I called Simone immediately after. She screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. That night she, Jade, and Elliot took me out to celebrate. We went to a small restaurant with string lights and good wine. They toasted to me, just me. And when I looked around the table, I realized something profound. This was what family was supposed to feel like. Celebrated, seen, valued. No one was taking photos for social media. No one was wearing white to steal attention. They were just there, fully present. And so was I. 1 year after my name change, I received an email from Natalie. Not demanding, not accusatory, just honest. I've been in therapy, it read. I'm starting to understand how much space I took up. How much mom and dad gave me that should have been shared. I'm sorry, I know that doesn't fix anything. I know you probably won't respond, but I needed to say it. I read it 3 times, then I wrote back. Thank you for saying that. I'm not ready to reconnect. I might never be. But I appreciate you acknowledging what happened. I hope therapy helps you the way it's helped me. She replied one more time. I understand. Take care of yourself, Aria, or Clara, whoever you are now. I hope you're happy. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was closure, and sometimes that's enough. I didn't owe her forgiveness, but I could give her acknowledgement, because healing isn't linear, and people do grow, even if they grow separately. I moved again, this time to a house. Small but mine, a backyard with a garden, a front porch with a swing. I painted the walls soft green. I hung photos of people who mattered. Simone, Jade, Elliot, Nana, Grace. Brandon's letter framed on my desk as a reminder that kindness exists. The mailbox had my name on it, Clara Monroe. Every morning I made coffee and sat on the porch. The mornings were quiet, peaceful, the kind of quiet that felt like home. I planted flowers. Roses, tulips, daisies, things that bloomed without needing constant attention. I adopted a cat. A grey tabby with green eyes I named Wren. She curled up beside me while I read, purred softly when I was sad, existed without expectation. For the first time in my life, silence didn't mean absence, it meant ownership, it meant peace, it meant I had finally arrived, not as Aria Hartwell, the invisible daughter, but as Clara Monroe, and Clara was free. Chapter. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, changing my name, cutting contact, starting over. The answer is always the same. No, not even for a second, because the person I was before Aria was drowning. She was suffocating under expectations she could never meet. She was waiting for people who would never show up. Clara doesn't wait anymore. Clara shows up for herself. She builds the life she wants. She surrounds herself with people who see her. She doesn't apologize for taking up space. Leaving wasn't about hurting them. It was about saving myself. And if that makes me selfish, then I'll wear that label proudly. Because after 28 years of putting everyone else first, I finally put myself first. And the world didn't end, it opened up. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not sad, I'm just free. And freedom, I've learned, is the best kind of revenge. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, or questioned whether you deserve to be seen, I want you to know something. You do. You deserve to be celebrated, to be chosen, to exist without apology. Tell me where you're listening from. Share your thoughts and subscribe for more stories like this. God bless you and may courage guide your hands. Meanwhile, on the final screen, I am leaving you with one of the channel's most beloved stories. I am sure it will surprise you. Thank you for staying with me until this moment. I live in my house now, the one with the green walls and the garden. Ren sleeps on the windowsill. My friends come over for dinners that last hours. And when the mail arrives with my name printed clearly on every envelope, I smile, because I didn't disappear. I arrived. They say revenge is loud, but mine was paperwork, silence, and a new name on a door they'll never walk through again. And that's not revenge, that's freedom. And freedom is everything.